Hey, what's up, everyone? Welcome back to Bad Thoughts Studios. Today is a very special episode because I've been wanting to do this, talk about House of the Dragon for a long time on a live and kind of get your guys' questions and hopefully give you guys some intelligent answers for people who I don't know if Evan has read the books, but me and OG are show watchers, so we like to give our opinions on the show, kind of what we think is going to happen next and stuff like that. But yeah, so this whole episode's just House of the Dragon. If you guys want to ask different questions, feel free to. We'd love to answer those questions. But first time on the show, Evan, how's everything, bro? Thank you for coming on.
No problem. I love to talk House of the Dragon. I love talking Game of Thrones. I never did I think I started doing podcasts post Game of Thrones, like in the 2019 area.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I love this series. I love the franchise. I am not a book reader,
Okay.
though. After season 1, I bought Fire and Blood.
Yeah.
It's just been collecting dust for the past 2 years on my bookshelf, and I'm like, son of a bitch. Like, 'cause I'm reading so much Star Wars books. Every other month there's a new High Republic or a new Star Wars book, and I'm always like so behind on everything. But I've been wanting to read Fire and Blood before season 2, but I just never got around to it. Maybe after season 2.
Yeah, I've been told by I do a lot of House of the Dragon and Game of Thrones content, like on TikTok and YouTube, and I get people telling me you need to read the books, you need to read the books, and I bought the first Game of Thrones book. Forgot what it was called, Fire and Blood, I think it was called.
For House of the Dragon, yeah.
I bought that one, and I was starting to read it, and I told myself, no, I'm not going to read it, not yet. Well, the funny thing is I was getting a lot of comments saying, I love your opinions on just the show. Like, there's a lot of book readers who give their opinions on what the book was about, and they always either spoil it or tell you the show is ass because they didn't put the right thing inside the show. So they were like, oh, I love your opinion when it comes to the show. So I was like, people are starting to like my content when it comes to just the show. Let's stick with that.
Let's stick with that. Yeah, I appreciate that. I like that. Like, I did that for a lot of different things as well. There was this show on Apple TV called Silo with Rebecca Ferguson that I loved, and I talked about the show every week. And it was like a mystery thriller. And I did not read the books, but I just loved talking about the characters, their journeys, and where they might go. I mean, it's different. Like, some things I want to read the books before I see the movie or TV show, but for this one, I like going in blind and seeing where this can lead. It worked well for Game of Thrones too, where I had no clue what was happening. Granted, nobody else did either, because the last couple of seasons, everybody's going in blind as well. But yeah, for this show, I adored season 1 because I'm just tracking character arcs, character journeys, and these personal conflicts and where they could possibly lead. Like, this was season 1 was a much more personal journey than a lot of the other seasons of Game of Thrones. Game of Thrones is very personal as well, but like, at least for season 1, comparing season 1's, House of the Dragon was very personal, and a lot of the external macro conflicts were born from these micro little conversations. And that's why I love Game of Thrones. That's why I love season 1 so much.
Exactly. And that's what drew me in as well. I'm a big character development guy. I think it makes or breaks a movie or TV show. And I think House of the Dragon, and especially Game of Thrones, Daenerys Targaryen and Jon Snow had the 2 best character developments probably of all time, in my opinion. But the way it ended,
I'm about to say,
no, the way it ended, and people who watch me, they know the way it ended. It was a knife to the chest because of how well the development of those 2 characters were, and it just sucks that it ended the way it is. But the reason why I am excited for the Winds of Winter to come out, which is the extension of the Game of Thrones books, is because I get to see how George R. R. Martin ends it the way he wants to end it. Now, will that come out when I'm alive? I don't know. It's been 15 years since he put the book out. So,
and how different will it be? Because people always go back and forth. It's like, well, this is what George wanted. I'm like, maybe the end game might be, but the journey to get there is going to be very, extenuated. Like, it's going to be filled with more stuff that we needed in seasons 7 and 8.
Exactly. So before we get started and deep dive, Evan, if you could tell the people who are watching kind of what you do, your content, and where they can find you.
I'm a teacher. No, but I am a teacher. But we're on summer break, which is great. So I can do a lot more podcasts. I just did 2 podcasts on Tuesday back to
Nice.
back. So I was exhausted. But I have one podcast on where heartbreak feels good. We talk about monthly recaps in terms of movies and TV shows that we watch. It's very like lax and fun conversation because we all watch. Josh, Edgar, and I. We watch like a lot of TV, a lot of movies. So we just like to break down what we saw per month. We also do top 10 stuff periodically and commentaries. And then I also have a main channel with Nathan Rojas where we talk about, it's called My Cup of Tea. We talk about movies, TV, a lot of comic book stuff. And right now, in the lead up to Deadpool and Wolverine, we're watching a lot of the Fox Marvel movies. And that's been very fun to go back and watch some of those movies, see how bad they really are or if they've been better. We just finished watching Daredevil, the director's cut, Ben Affleck's Daredevil, and it was pretty damn good. I had a good time with it. The movie after that, Elektra, wasn't so good. So we do that. And then, of course, we have Hyperspace Hype, where we talk about all things Star Wars. And we have a new episode tomorrow discussing Acolyte. And I took a lot of notes in that show. I'm loving that show so far. So I can talk about Acolyte for a long time. So, yeah. Star Wars, movies, TV, I talk about it all.
Beautiful, beautiful. And make sure you guys go follow them. I will, after this video, put everyone's information in the description below. So make sure you guys go give them a follow. And OG, always great talking to you, brother. Thank you again for joining me. Appreciate it.
Yeah, absolutely, Tom. It's always a good time. And with you as well, Evan. Evan's been on my channel a few times now, and we always have a good time talking movies and TV and everything. So it's good to talk shop with both of you gentlemen. Yeah, you can find me on Orange Grove 55 on YouTube. We talk a lot about theme parks. We do dip into the movies and television stuff as well, even the corporate side of things, all that Bob Iger stuff, we get into all that. And you can find me on Twitter or X at Orange Grove 55 and on Instagram at Orange Grove 55.
Young blood, but I'm built like an OG.
There we go.
I love that job. I heard it this morning. I was like, hell yeah. Yeah, guys, make sure you guys go check them out. Like I said, I'll put everything in the description below for those who are rewatching this on the replay. So I want to start with this. I wasn't gonna go to season 8, but since we kind of touched up on it, I'll start with you, Evan. Just kind of like an opinion on what you thought about Game of Thrones and how it ended.
I still think Game of Thrones overall is one of the best shows of all time. It kind of lowered dramatically with season 8. Season 7, I was like a season 7 defender, because I did like the chemistry between Jon and Daenerys, the romance there. I'm a sucker for a good romance, and I thought the romance between Jon and Dany was really well developed for what it was. Even though I did not like the some of the stuff on Winterfell, I felt like we're lacking in terms of Sansa and Arya's arcs. The end result, again, solid. The journey to get there was a little bit lacking, in my opinion. Season 8, though, was a mess for the most part. But people forget the first 2 episodes of season 8, the final season, weren't that bad.
Yeah,
they're pretty. They're pretty good. We got all the heroes going to Winterfell. I loved all that kind of stuff. The knighting of Brienne was fantastic. And then the war for Winterfell happens. Not great, Bob. I remember watching it like me, my brother, my mom, my dad. We all sat together to finally watch this epic battle, and it was epic. It was grand. But I think I was talking like Tones was talking about, Orange was talking about like the character stuff. You can have a fun battle, but it has to be filled with good, solid character moments. I think the character moments that we got weren't that, well done. Like the whole Arya thing was shocking and great TV, but when you take a step back, you're like,
why?
I don't think it really impacted me the way another character like Jon finally fighting it would have. And then you hear Dan and Dave talking about like, well, people theorized Jon was going to do it, so we had to switch it up. It's like, no. And then one of my favorite characters in all the fiction while watching the show was Cersei. I loved Cersei.
Really?
I think her role, I think she's like the epitome of like women in Game of Thrones, like being driven so far down by the patriarchy and everything going on that she kind of had to go through all these like antagonistic circumstances to try and get her way and follow the Game of Thrones. But the way she goes out in season 8 was so incredibly disappointing. Falling death by 1,000 rocks. Wasn't great, Bob. But also, John and Danny's arc. Danny in particular, like I was losing my mind during her burning of King's Landing.
Yep.
Where I get your anger, Danny, but the journey to get there, it was like 0 to 180. It was incredibly quick. And the only thing the show really gave us to kind of fuel her anger was the death of Missandei and a couple of things leading up to it where Tyrion's like, hey, don't do this, Danny. And then Danny does it anyways. It's like, we get it. She's an angry person, but like, does that cripple 8 seasons of character arcs? Maybe not. So I didn't love that. And then the ending where she dies and then John's there. It was very messy. So I didn't really love season 8 overall. And it kind of like really lowered my appreciation for Game of Thrones. I didn't really like, I love talking about it, but I didn't really like talking about the finale. It just made me feel sad.
No, I agree. And I'm right there with you. The one thing that disappointed me, and I was told this and I read about it, and it kind of made me even more mad, was they had David Benioff and D&D. They had the free range and free budget to do whatever they wanted.
Oh yeah. And
they didn't have a budget to kind of cap off at, and they didn't have a time limit or a timetable when to finish it. They just said, go make season 8 because, the fans, the fan base just grew, tremendously. And when I heard that they had free range to pretty much do anything, and they ended with that, and it was only 6 episodes or
HBO wanted. I think they even said, Dave and Dan said HBO wanted them to do more. People can fact check me, but I think Dave and Dan admitted HBO wanted to do more, but they felt like this was a justifiable endpoint.
Yeah.
And they only did 6 episodes, I think.
And recently, and this is probably going to piss you off even more. I mean, we all know that they had the Star Wars project in the that they were hired for before season 8 dropped.
Well, when's that one coming out? I'm still waiting for
that. Are you waiting for
it? I probably shouldn't hold my breath.
They got 3 body problems, so they're fine.
Yeah, exactly. But not just that, like we knew they wanted to do some kind of movie, outside of House of the Dragon or Game of Thrones.
Yeah.
They wanted to do some kind of movie, so they brought to HBO. Hey, let's make season 8 into a movie or movies. And they told them, no, we want a TV show. And it almost sounded or almost felt like that pissed them off that they got that no because of how successful they were with the show, that they said, fuck it, let's end it how a lot of people aren't going to end it. I'm not saying that's what happened, but that's what I've heard people say. And it sucks because, like I said, the way those 2 characters, the only thing that ever foreshadowed in Game of Thrones was the connection that Danny and John were eventually going to have, and it foreshadowed that because they didn't meet each other until season 7.
Yeah,
and they were both they both really never dated or married anyone within those 7 seasons, so it foreshadowed that, and we thought, okay, they're going to like each other, they're going to end up blah blah blah, and then all of a sudden fucking John throws a knife in her heart. Like, what the fuck?
Because she goes crazy. She goes so and I'm all for heroes going bad, but it's just such a quick ascension to that harsh evilness reality. And people like to say, I remember when the final season aired and that episode happened, they were like, well, you didn't see point A, B, and C. How could you not see this coming? I'm like, I can kind of, if you forced me to see the red lines getting to this point, I can see them. She wasn't the most sane person in the world, but neither was half the other characters, and they didn't go around burning and massacring an entire city.
Exactly.
The scale of what she did was just what was so alarming. Innocent mothers, children, everybody. It's like, wow, it was just a lot. And if they really want to get there, give me another season seeing that. But don't just do it from episodes 5 to 6 or whatever it was.
It was so disproportionate,
Yeah.
And they didn't build it up. Yeah.
Yep.
And wasn't there things at Two Tones with the it was funny you mentioned the unlimited budget and stuff, and there were still issues with the when it got released that they didn't edit out the water bottles on the ground and things like that. I was like, what is going on? I've never seen anything like that in my life. That's crazy.
Starbucks cups on the floor and water bottles on the tables. Yep. pretty much, and
That
it
was
just
funny.
in a way it just showed laziness. I hate saying people are lazy because
Mhm.
I wasn't there watching, or I didn't hear about the mistake of how it happened, but it just looks like it from people's perspectives. Like the season looked lazy. And the one thing that we got when the Night King, he turned one of Danny's dragons into a dragon that he was able to use.
That was baller. Yeah.
What the one fight scene that we were looking forward to within that battle was that, like, the dragons fighting dragons. For once in the Game of Thrones seasons, we're going to be seeing dragons versus dragons, and we got nothing. Like, we didn't get a good battle in the.
We got it. I remember that shot. They're flying in the moonlight, and it looks cool, but it's hard to see. It was hard to visualize. It was a nighttime fight, and it was famously it was very hard to see the action choreography in the sky or on the ground. So it's because your investment was kind of lost because the visual language was just very hard to watch.
Exactly. But yeah, guys, that's pretty much I mean, OG. I know we've talked about it before, but let's hear your opinion on what season 8 was, because you had a different kind of perspective because you watched the show, 1 to 8.
Yeah. I
Binged it all.
I binged it. Yeah, me and my girlfriend at the time, we took like 2 or 3 weeks, and we knocked a few episodes out every night, and we were just going for it. Yeah, so it was kind of different for me because I agree with what you were saying, Evan, though. I do think that the 180, the turn was a little fast, and it was disproportionate and everything. But for me, I wasn't because a lot of Game of Thrones fans were like super upset. And I understand it because they were following the show for it ran for like 10 years or a decade or something crazy like that.
Yeah.
Yeah, and so when you're invested weekly, in that show, and then the last few episodes or the last season disappoint you, it hits hard. So for me, I didn't have that because while it wasn't the greatest ending or the greatest final season, it wasn't because I wasn't invested all these years. It didn't hit me. I don't think like it hit the long-term fans. So that's kind of where I was at with it. But I think if I was watching a show every week or whatever for all those years and then it ended like that, I could understand the anger for sure, So
yeah, it all comes down to investment. How much you are investing your time and all that kind of stuff in the characters and stuff. And yeah, I was like, again, tracking character arcs week to week was just very jarring getting to that final season.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, and there's been speculation of a Jon Snow spinoff, which has officially been shelved at the time being.
Yeah,
it's kind of unfortunate because we would love to see where Jon goes after everything that happened, but at the same time, there's not really a big storyline for him to do. They would have to make up everything. There's no written material for him. There's a couple things that I kind of broke down in previous videos. I'll kind of go over it. There's one thing that a way that they can go, but it would have to bring back Danny, and I don't think that's ever going to happen.
I wouldn't mind it.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly.
I don't think anybody would mind if that happened, but yeah.
Yeah. And
like her going to Valyria, right? Possibly.
So with Drogon took her to Valyria, or was it Valyria? Yeah. And the Red Princess was going to revive her, like Jon Snow got revived, and then there's that revenge battle right there. But do I see that happening? No, unfortunately not. But yeah,
I do like the current slate that we're possibly looking at here for the future of Game of Thrones. This year, 2024, we have House of the Dragon season 2. 2025, next year already, we're getting the Duncan Egg.
Seven Kingdoms, yeah.
The Hedge Knight, Seven Kingdoms, which is going to be a more lax, less grand scale shows like this. And then in 2026, House of the Dragon season 3, perhaps.
Mm-hmm.
And then 2027, if we're looking at Aegon's Conquest, possibly.
See that I believe I was telling OG this and Jay, shout out to Jay. I think Aegon's Conquest, if they do this properly, will be better than Game of Thrones and House of the Dragon.
Oh,
yeah. I mean, you got to think of it this way, though. There's nothing better than an origin story, and we're finally going to see an origin story of the Targaryen landing in Westeros, and that's something that to me could potentially be the best show as far as the Game of Thrones universe. But do you think that could possibly happen?
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
it's what people have been craving since
Mhm.
season 1 of Game of Thrones, and especially in House of the Dragon, constantly mentioning Aegon's dream, his prophecy, the conquest, and all this kind of stuff. Like
Visenya and his sister, or Aegon and his sister wives. Yeah.
his sister wives, exactly. So it's very interesting. I would love to see it. It's like the epitome of what people love about Game of Thrones, like seeing the Targaryens at their prime. Because even in House of the Dragon, they're just immediately within conflict, and it's kind of like the fall of the Targaryen dynasty in House of the Dragon. And then in season 1 of Game of Thrones overall, it was just like the fledgling just Dany. But this one, we get to see all the Targaryens, and not even in Westeros at the beginning of season 1. Theoretically, it would just be in Valyria, and then you have the Doom of Valyria. Then they have to get to Westeros, and that would be crazy. That would be very interesting.
As much as I would love to see that, I don't think they would start it off there.
You think they'll just jump us to Westeros?
Yeah,
really?
Wow.
I think so, and I think I could be wrong, and I hope I'm wrong because I want to see that transition. But I believe they're going to do the whole Dorne battle when Aegon didn't have. And by the way, I haven't read any of these books. This is straight from people that tell me from my comments in TikTok and Game of Thrones. Is and I did research on this part because it was kind of huge. But the Seven Kingdoms wasn't the Seven Kingdoms; it was the Six Kingdoms because Aegon couldn't conquer Dorne. Dorne was the last of the Seven Kingdoms that he wasn't able to conquer, and I think they're going to. If they do rush through, Valyria and all that stuff, and then us see the Battle of Dorne.
Wouldn't Dorne be like a season 2 or 3 kind of thing eventually?
It could be. Yeah. I just don't know because there's not really, from what I'm told, there's not really a huge storyline that they can stretch out to like 4 seasons. So
yeah,
I'm assuming that that if they do this, it's going to be like 2 seasons, and I hope they don't start at Dorne. I hope they do it, but I'm thinking they're going to do that.
Because I think they'd want to stretch it out as much as possible. I mean, they did a phenomenal job with House of the Dragon season 1. From what I heard, the prologue with just having young Rhaenyra. Hey, what's up?
What up, Webba?
Yeah, with young Rhaenyra and young Alicent, like all that was just like a couple of pages. And then like the real story starts with season 2. Yeah. So it's like, if they can just expand that in the whole 8-episode season, then we can get a lot here with Aegon's conquest.
Yeah, I totally agree. Yo, what up, Webba? Y'all think we'll get some more magic shit in these Game of Thrones universe stories? Yeah, we're gonna get a lot of magic shit, bro.
Does he watch Game of Thrones or no?
I don't think
I've ever talked to him about it.
You can. I hope he yells at me for this because I ask him all the time and I never remember if he does it. All the time, bro. I feel so bad, but I'm assuming he does because he was on a episode we did. But we talked about Game of Thrones, but a little bit more than just Game of Thrones. Okay. So I'm assuming he did.
I don't know if we'll see a lot of magic in Houses of the Dragon in particular. I don't know if this era is particularly... I mean, granted, it's more magical than the Game of Thrones where it is, like hundreds of years later. But I don't know if we're in for a lot of magic in this story. I could be very wrong, though.
Yeah. I don't think so either. I don't think they're going to go that route. I mean, I guess considered dragons are magical. I guess they're mythical creatures, but
yeah. Because again, I don't read the books either, but I have a lot of friends who do read the books, and it's kind of like yeah.
I have the series once, and it was great. I've seen season 1.
Okay.
He's all caught up.
Yeah.
Yes, sir. Yeah, I'm excited for. But let me ask you, OG, what I know. Like I said, we've in season 1. We've seen a lot of a political season, not a lot of action, but we've seen the conniving characters. We've seen the heartfelt characters. We've seen, death in the last episode, but in season 1, what did you like what didn't you like that you'd like to see in season 2?
Oh man, that's tough. What didn't I like in season 1 that I would like to see in season 2?
Yeah. Or like, what was it missing in your opinion?
See, that's a tough one, man, because I love season 1. I don't know, man. I honestly, I kind of just want to see them get. I don't. Okay, because in the first season, it was like you said, it was very like political, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, and I want that to continue though, because that was actually one of the strong points of that whole season for me. I like that. I like the whole like giant chessboard kind of thing, right? But I will say this: I want to keep that, but I also want to add a little bit more intensity with the action and stuff like that. I think I want to sprinkle more of that in there, but I don't want to lose too much of the giant chess game. I love that aspect of it, and that's actually one aspect I loved about the prequels in Star Wars. People complain about the politics. I like the politics, so yeah.
Same way, man. And I think, as I was thinking of like my little bit of nitpicks or negatives for season 1 of House of the Dragon, I'm with you guys. I liked a lot of the politics and the character interactions, but one of my favorite characters from season 1 was Aemon, the younger brother.
I know I liked you, Evan. I know.
Aemon's the GOAT, but he's a younger brother that looks like the older brother, and he kind of our infatuation with its character and his like lust to be at the top. It comes across via how great of an actor he is. But there was that one particular episode where he has to chase down his brother who's in like a hostel or whatever. He's doing some crazy stuff. They have to go find him. And that episode is supposed to really lead us into like his feelings on his brother and where he stands. And I feel like I didn't get much of that. I want to see more of that sibling relationship between Aemon and King. Is it King Aegon? Yeah, King Aegon now. Like that sibling rivalry that's technically not a rivalry because he knows his status as, hey, I'm the younger brother and I just want to go to war. Aemon also wants to go to war, but I want to see more of those sibling rivalries. Same for the sister character as well, who has like visions of some kind as well.
Helena,
Helena. I want to see more of her character because I think she got a little bit sidelined in season 1. We know she has kids with Aegon. So I want to see some more of that whole trio on the green side.
It's funny you say that. One of my most viewed videos on TikTok, I believe it hit over like I'm almost at 4 million views on this TikTok.
Whoa.
Are you serious, Tom?
Yeah. And
damn, dude.
The TikTok I did, and I can even let me show you guys actually, just because
I didn't know I was talking to a famous person over here.
Yeah.
Oh no, I'm nowhere near famous. Nowhere near famous. But this video went crazy because of I want to say because of how outrageous this guest was, and I'll put it like this. It was here. I think
Helena Targaryen. I think Helena.
Pause it. There you go.
This is a rare moment. Tones no hat.
I know, right? I do have hair, guys. It's just a little messy right now. But this video, it has, a little over 3.8 million views on it, and this is as soon as it came out. Now, this video is about Helena and Aegon and Aemon. So I'll let you guys watch it.
I think Helena Targaryen's kids are actually Aemon's. At first, I really wasn't convinced, but after hearing this, I think I am. After Alicent says, "Father," listen to what the little kids say. Also, watch Alicent as she looks at the kids as they leave the room.
Where is Aegon?
Not here.
He's not in his rooms.
Father.
So she says the word father, and then the children say Aemon.
Interesting. I love this theory.
They clearly say Aemon's
This
name.
we got some
We all
incest rivalry going on here. What's happening? That's why I love Game of Thrones.
Exactly. It's a wild theory.
It's definitely possible.
Yeah,
exactly.
You have Aemon always out of the house, going with other people in the middle of like whatever it's called, King's Landing. So it's like, he had a lot of bastards as well. Mm-hmm. So it's like, wouldn't be surprising if Aemon's gone Monday through Friday, then Aemon's there, and it's like, hey, how's it going, Elena? So
and if you guys remember during I keep forgetting Elena. It was Lena Valarian, the one Damon's first wife who died
Yes.
giving birth.
Yes.
If you remember at her funeral, Helena was playing with her bugs like she always did. And then Aegon and Aemon were talking to each other, and Aegon kept saying how his wife or betrothed wife, his sister, is weird and he doesn't want to marry her. And Aemon was like, I would do my duty and marry her, and telling him he would do his duty. And there's other like examples in the show where he's like protective over her. He always puts himself in front of her. Yeah, it could be just trying to protect her, but there's just too many examples in season 1 of him maybe leaning towards her as if there's something there.
No, you got a lot of views on that thing. And what do you say, 4 million?
Almost
4 million. So did you get a lot of heat for this?
Oh yeah, I can't even show my comments on TikTok, dude. Or on
YouTube.
Yeah, it's just people, book readers, and I don't mind the comments. Like I understand they have a strong opinion on it.
Yeah.
But the one thing that book readers and especially in this show and Game of Thrones, it was a little bit different because it was a perspective of each individual character from the books, from what I'm told. In House of the Dragon, these stories are being told by maesters hundreds of years later. So you know, there's a difference between hearing a story 100 years later and it being written down and it being the truth, and being what's the word, all factual, is very unlikely. So all these stories being told could be manufactured over time, and that's what a lot of people are saying this is what's happening.
That's a great point, Tones, because I think even George talked about that, where he felt like George has a lot of say with Ryan in terms of show running and like participating in the writing of this show, because this is going to be our first macro look of what is really going down in this time period. Because like you said, in the Fire and Blood book, these are maesters telling stories. This isn't like, hey, chapter 1, Rhaenyra went down and saved the cat. It's like, no, it's like this one's like, oh yeah, I heard Rhaenyra and Daemon, I think they went down and they might have like kissed in a brothel. Like there's these things that are like maesters are kind of guessing at because of future events. Exactly. Right? It's like in terms of like, hey, those aren't Rhaenyra's kids. They don't look like are these Harold Strong's, whatever his name was, or are these his kids? That kind of thing. It's not like truly factual until we see the show. So this is our first time. So you could be completely right. Like there isn't no right or wrong way. And even again, I'm not a book reader, but I don't think there's even 100% confirmation of like Aegon or Aemon's kids there. So
yeah, and there's potential of me being completely wrong, and I'm okay with that. Yeah, and I'm okay.
That's the fun of it too with fandom, like in general, like even with like anything, like any franchise, like Star Wars, or even like when we talk about theme parks and we speculate and stuff. That's the fun of it. Even if you're wrong, it's still fun to talk about,
And that's what made Marvel even more. It like, I mean, I should say before Endgame, or at Endgame, when the last great movie we've seen. It was fun to speculate what was coming next as far as the Avengers and all these side characters, all the Avengers. It was fun to hit up your friends and be like, hey, I think this is going to happen because this happened, this happened, this happened. But I think that's what's the problem with the MCU now. It's like, I can't call up OG and be like, hey, I think this is going to happen, because it's probably going to be completely wrong because we don't know what the fuck's happening. We don't know what's canon at the time. Or I mean, it's just real.
They're so disassociated with each other now.
Exactly.
I would offend. Hey, Shang-Chi is one of the best. Shang-Chi and Guardians 3 are like Guardians.
No. You can go back.
Don't get Tone started on Shang-Chi.
Yeah. Oh my god. How long has it been? Almost 5 years until the next fucking movie.
It's ridiculous. What is happening?
Thank you.
Oh my god. How did that come out in like 2021? It's been
Dude.
like I watch that movie every year. It's fantastic.
Yeah, so fucking good. But yeah, it was a video I did, and my comments were just, go read a book. You're an idiot. Like that kind of shit. It was fucking hilarious.
That's great. Mr. Weber.
So from what I remember, what I liked about GOAT was that while the core main characters pretty much stayed alive, through all the stuff that happened. I never felt there was too much plot. Yes, exactly. And that's what, but I think that's what was missing in the last 2 seasons is we didn't see the ruthlessness within Game of Thrones, except for I guess the stabbing of Dany, but it wasn't like that was just terrible. Like we saw when Eddard Stark died, and we saw when these big characters died within the show. Like you were just starting to love this guy, and his fucking head gets chopped off like the next episode. Like that's what made Game of Thrones so like you didn't know what was coming next for show watchers. You didn't know what the fuck was happening next.
And I like how Webber describes that plot armor. That's I like that. That's exactly it.
But yeah, so yeah, season 1 was a political kind of show, but it was an amazing show. I loved the first season. The way it ended was very unfortunate. Lucerys ended up getting chopped up by Aemon and Vhagar.
By accident, which I think is very interesting. Now, again, correct me if I'm wrong, book readers, people watching, but
in the book, it wasn't on accident.
Exactly. Yeah, that's what I want to say. So that's very interesting. And I think, Aemon, he's my guy. It's like, how are you going to come back to King's Landing after that? And there's some funny interviews where he's like, well, there's one of two things he could do. He can be there, be like, hey, I messed up. I effed up. Or, and I think the more accurate thing it's going to do is like, yeah, I did it. Yeah. This is what needs to be done. This is what I had to do. And he got in the way and shit happened. So I'm like, okay, that's because again, Aemon, he has to exude strength. He has to exude any kind of ounce of superiority and strength that he can get in this time amongst his family. He's going to use every chance he can get. So
exactly. And I think that's where I think it's going to lead off like a couple of days after that event.
Yeah, like given what we saw in like all the trailers and stuff, because I haven't been able to just like go away from the trailers. I just been locked in on all the trailers and every line and everything like that. But it seems like a week, maybe even a little bit more over that in terms of like after that, because you still see Rhaenyra pretty much tears weeping, like she's so depressed and looking for Luke, Lucerys. Daemon's hungry for war, and then Aemon's sitting there like thirsty for war. I'm like, Aemon, you better watch your back, man. Oh, yeah. Daemon is not one to mess with. You're barking up the wrong tree. It's like, one of my favorite lines from Daemon in the trailer. It was, are they in that much of a rush to die? Like, do they really want to? Like, really? Like, okay, cool. Hey, let's go.
And I kind of want to go over the trailer real quick and kind of get OG and your guys and Evan's opinion. In the trailer, I talked to Jay about talked to Jay Shear about this. In the trailer, and it was in a promo trailer. I don't know if you guys seen the promo trailer, but in the trailer, I'll start with Aemon. Aemon was talking to, I believe, Kristen Cole. He said, "The love for the mother, or the love my mother has for Rhaenyra is weakness." And the other part, it said, Rhaenyra said to Daemon, "Do you really love me, or do you really accept me as your queen?" We're going to be seeing a lot of drama within a lot of tension within these teams, and it's not just black versus green. There's going to be a lot of war within these teams, in my opinion, and I think it's going to make it even better. But what do you guys think?
I really want to get in on the first part there between Kristen Cole and Aemon, because Kristen Cole was a very interesting character in season 1. We haven't really talked about him much, but
to me, I think he's a pussy. But go ahead.
but he's one of those pussies that's just great to watch and like, evolve throughout the season. Because the first couple episodes, I'm like, oh, this guy's awesome, he's cool. But then you get the boat scene where he's just like, Rhaenyra, drop everything, come with me, and Rhaenyra's like,
yeah, exactly.
You're not that attractive anymore. What are you talking about? No, so I have Daemon here. No, but yeah, so I love his character. He's a very interesting character in the fact that he is kind of bent the knee to I'm blanking, Olivia Cook. Allison. Yeah. Which by the way, I'm Team Black all the way. But if Olivia Cook's on Team Green, I'm on Team Green. Olivia, I love
Oh.
Olivia Cook so much. Oh my god.
Beautiful.
But yeah, seeing her or seeing him bend the knee to her was extremely fascinating. I want to see how much loyalty he has for her, and to see him and Eamon behind the scenes talking about Alicent like that. I mean, that's very juicy. Like not everybody's on the same page here, and we've seen this already in season 1, where Alicent kind of is one of the only ones being like, what are we doing? There was already a council before me talking about succession, and I'm not here, and I'm the one sleeping with Viserys. Like, what's going on here? So I really love Alicent. Alicent could have easily been, the next Cersei in terms of like, we got to do what we got to do because this is the way it needs to be done, that kind of thing. But no, she has an affection for Rhaenyra, and I like what Olivia Cook had to say in terms of her love for Rhaenyra. It's not present day love. I think they do like each other, but they love what their past selves were. She loves the old Rhaenyra, the Rhaenyra that used to be with her on the tree when they were kids reading books together. And I think Rhaenyra has romantic feelings towards that as well, that past time where they were friends, where they were like sisters to each other. They possibly were like actually did love each other back then, romantically. But then that all gets shattered when politics get in the way and she becomes her stepmom in her way. So it gets very weird. But I think they do have a love and affection towards each other, and people notice that. And she's gonna have to control her own kids during all this time. Like she has to control Aegon, who I think also wants to go to war, Aemond, who wants to go to war, and see all that there. I'll talk about Otto Hightower later because I love Otto as well. But yeah, between Kristen Cole, and Aemond, these two idiots just scheming behind the scenes. I cannot wait to see what they cook up.
Yeah, they're going to be cooking up a lot, and like we said before, Aemon has that I want to be in charge mindset, and Kristen Cole's not sitting back and saying, hey buddy, you shouldn't be doing that. I feel like he's going to be egging him on.
He's adding gasoline to the fire. He's like, yeah, sure, yeah,
exactly, and on the other side of the teams, and Matt Smith, who plays Daemon, he actually did a interview and pretty much said Daemon's only loyalty is to his dragon, and I think that just it confirmed my suspicions of Daemon. Daemon almost feels like it almost feels like he's picking the less of two evils, which is Rhaenyra, and not in a way of like he doesn't love Rhaenyra. He loves her, but he's only loyal to his dragon and to himself. What benefits Daemon is the side he's eventually going to be on, and that's what I assumed was going to happen. And it looks like I could be right because of what the trailers have put out. The trailers have put out, almost like he's on her side, but at the same time, it's his side as well.
There's friction there, and I think we can exude that, Tones, in terms of Daemon's time with Laena Targaryen. His time with Laena, people didn't like those episodes. I really appreciated it to see a side of Daemon without war, see how he truly feels about Laena. I think he did love her, but like you said, Daemon is able, not everybody's able to do this, but he's able to draw a line between his love for somebody and his active goals, his dreams, his passion, his drive. Those things don't have to be in the same league. And I think we see that in season 2. We're going to see that in season 2, where he does love Rhaenyra. I do agree with you. I think they do have a good love for one another. But at the same time, that love can go in different ways. He's not going to be the loving kind of father or husband where he's like, it's okay, Rhaenyra, I'm going to support you. No, he's going to use that love and try and go his own way.
Yeah, I mean, he choked her in season 1, literally.
It was crazy. Yeah, I mean, as a huge shipper between Daemon and Rhaenyra, I was like, whoa, hey, what's going on here? But it made sense for his character. He's a very brash, aggressive character. I still love him but he's crazy. And I do like that about him. He's very complex. He's a character that we haven't really seen in this in the series before in terms of who's loving but aggressive, and that love can be very toxic and go a lot of different ways. But yeah, I'm very curious to see. And he did admit as well, which is very sad, that I think him and Emma both said they don't have a lot of scenes together this season, which is disappointing.
Oh, wow. I didn't hear that.
Yeah, I think we'll see them, of course, in episode 1, but I think they go separate ways, I think, because of the conflict. I don't know what happens, but they might not share as many scenes as they did in season 1. Which I'm curious. I'm like, who's Rhaenyra going to be, riffing with, per se?
Yeah.
Who's she going to be with? Because I think we're going to have Luke. I keep saying Luke. Who's the one going to Winterfell?
Jacaerys.
Jacaerys, yeah. I always said Jake and Luke. But Jacaerys is going to Winterfell to get those allies there. We've seen pictures of that. We've seen footage of that. Damon's going somewhere, I guess. He seemed like, even in the trailers, he's like, let's go. Like,
Yep.
Lucerys is dead. We're firing on all cylinders. I think Rhaenyra might want to be like, let's not immediately do that. So that might be that friction where she's like, who do you truly follow? Like, I'm the queen here. You supported me. Why aren't you doing what I say?
Yeah.
And that's going to be some delicious conflict.
Now, Tones, does that disappoint you that they don't have much screen time together, or is it more kind of based on what, like, execution, right? Like, does it kind of depend for you, or is that something that kind of turns you off a little bit?
No, it doesn't turn me off. I understand why, because there's going to be a lot of battles. There's going to be a lot of Daemon doing what he wants to do, so it kind of makes sense. I do love them together, though. Like, I don't want it to be as if Daemon's scheming behind Rhaenyra's back by not being with her all the time. And if they do it too much like that, it could come off that way to Rhaenyra. And go ahead, Evan.
I want to talk about that, because what if that happens in the show where Rhaenyra's in a very vulnerable situation? Yeah. I think I'm with you. They have to execute it correctly.
Right.
But I think there is something intriguing about somebody that you love. We spent a lot of season 1 of their love, like consummating them being together. They've been through so much. Lucerys just died. But it's like it would be very natural for Rhaenyra to be like, I'm not seeing a lot of Daemon. He's doing all these shit behind the scenes. Is he mounting an offense against me? Does he not support me? And I think that could parallel what we see in the Greens, where Alicent isn't queen, her son is, but like she could also actively be losing control, as we saw with Kristen, and Aemond, like doing stuff behind the scenes. And I'm like, both of these people who kind of are the true figureheads, Alicent and Rhaenyra, could actively be losing control this season as the war escalates. So it's a very interesting dichotomy.
Yeah, and that was kind of what I assumed season 2 was going to be, is that Alicent and Rhaenyra will have that kind of losing control in common on both teams, because Aegon, now that he kind of embraced that power when he, in the I don't think it was the last episode, I think it was episode 9, where he was the coronation day, where he's getting into it, putting his sword up in the air, people cheering his name, like it looked like he was getting into it. And of course we know Aegon already, he's just a kid who's literally doing whatever the fuck he wants to do inside Westeros. So and we all know that's Daemon's character right there. So that could be the potential conflict. I do want to show you guys a clip of what this was on CBS Mornings. I was
going to bring this up. Yeah, it's great to see. Yeah.
They did an interview, I believe, with Matt Smith, who plays Daemon, and this was the scene that they released. So let's get your guys' opinion on this.
A raven has told Rhaenyra that her son is dead. She needs to know it for certain.
She was a fool to go alone. What if Aemond were to happen to go now?
Then I would pity Aemond. The Queen was wise to recuse herself. She's not acted on the vengeful impulse that others might have.
If you'd have acted when you had the chance, Aegon's line would be extinguished.
I love that, dude.
Oh my gosh. he has no social awareness. He doesn't
No.
give a crap. He just says whatever he needs to say. If you would have acted, you were in an auditorium, you had a dragon, and you just screamed at him and left. Like, come on, burn him to a crisp. But I get it because that's not who. What was her name again? Rhaenyra. Is she also named
Rhaenys.
Rhaenys?
Rhaenys, yeah.
Oh my god. But
Yeah, exactly.
Rhaenys, Aegon, Naaman. Anyways,
The Game of Thrones, the names are, it's hard.
it's very hard. Yeah, like
I'm a captions guy when it comes to Game of Thrones.
I'm a captain's guy for everything. I'm watching everything just so I can take notes better. But yeah, Rhaenys, you had your chance and you missed it. But again, they talked about it here. Rhaenyra is taking a step back. She's mourning, while Damon seems to be. We got to push. We got to push forward and see what happens here.
Yeah.
I
More
love
aggressive.
that. That's a great scene.
You want to hear a funny story about that scene? Or I shouldn't say about that scene, but the when Rhaenys and her dragon came up from the floorboards. Do you remember? You guys remember that scene from season 1?
Yeah.
The coronation day. So that scene wasn't in the books, right? There was a petition for the director the writer or director who wrote that scene / episode. There was a petition to get her fired from the project because of that, just that one scene of Rhaenys coming up from the floorboards. And not just that, not only was there a petition, hundreds of thousands, possibly millions of people signed this petition to get her.
I never heard of this.
Because of that scene.
Because of that scene.
Do you feel like it went against her character, or that it was just unnecessary?
From what I heard, it was unnecessary, and it wasn't in the books. Was the huge one, and it was out of her character or the character. I don't remember what.
So was this like a book reader thing, kind of like this was
from what I read. From what I read, it was a huge deal when it came out when the episode aired. I can look for it and possibly post it on like X or whatever, but from what I remember, a petition was signed and like a lot of people signed it.
But she never got fired though, right? Or like she never got let go. Okay.
No,
they don't care about that stuff.
Yeah, from what I know, I don't remember. This is not nowhere. This is not a flex. This isn't anything. But I reached out to one of the directors of House of the Dragon. And she very cool. Her name is Caitlin Kilner. She's a director for a couple episodes of House of the Dragon for this season as well. She also did Fallout 76. But I reached out to her, and she is a very nice lady. She messaged me back right away.
Wow.
She a whole bunch of like media stuff's going on right now, but she potentially might have a scene in this show where it might not be. She didn't tell me this. This is what I read on Reddit. I mean, it could be bullshit because it's Reddit. But on Reddit, they posted something, and what's funny is I can't find the post, but I read this like a couple months ago.
Maybe it was taken down or something.
It possibly could have, but it was someone saying that she also put in a scene in one of the episodes that might possibly piss off book readers.
Keep on pissing them off. I love it. I don't care.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Again, a lot of this from the books, as you mentioned, was hearsay. Like we don't know what the accurate events are until we see the show, and even then, in the show, we can't take things like because they're unreliable narrators in per se.
Exactly.
But yeah, like I don't like. I guess the only complaint would be like, yeah, she murdered a lot of people that day, random civilians, but it doesn't matter. She had to escape. She had to leave. Like people take things way too much to heart. Like you can still see Rhaenys as a compassionate person, even if she killed a couple 50, 100 people.
Yeah, exactly.
Like she can still be a compassionate character.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
We got another clip. This was on Jimmy Fallon, I believe.
Jimmy Fallon.
Good old Jimmy Fallon.
Oh yeah.
But I thought this was a funny question, and I love Matt Smith's response. But I want to get your guys' take on this.
Maybe you can settle this too. People say Jon Snow versus Daemon Targaryen. They'll never see each other. Who would win in a fight?
Wow. Come on, Jimmy. Who would win in a fight between Jon Snow and Dale? Mate, I've got a dragon.
I got dragon.
Listen, I have a lot of respect. I have a lot of respect for Jon Snow.
Jon Snow.
And wait, Jon Snow's a bad boy. Don't get me wrong. Kit
Bad
Harington,
boy.
lovely man, lovely guy. I have a lot of respect. Don't get it twisted. I will those brothers up. I've got a dragon.
You have a dragon. Yeah.
Come on, Mashman. Like, minus your dragon on facing off against John. I think that'd be an interesting. I might go Jon Snow though, in terms of like physicality. Like, I think Jon is a better duelist, even though Daemon's a very good duelist. But we saw him during that one jousting scene in episode 1 or whatever, where he kind of lost initially, then he came back and won. But I think he's better than like Aemond. But I don't know. Jon Snow would be very interesting to test how well Daemon is, like sword to sword.
Yeah, if you took the dragon out of the picture, I would agree. I'm leaning Jon Snow.
Yeah.
If you take the dragon out of the picture, you know.
It's funny because they have these debates all the time of who was the best fighter, like within the Game of Thrones universe, and a lot of people forget that the Kingslayer, Jaime Lannister,
he was good.
He was probably one of the best fighters in the realm, like ever, like in the Game of Thrones universe.
Oh.
And it sucks that we didn't get to see it because of his fucking hand getting chopped off. But do you guys remember the fight scene in Game of Thrones when a young Eddard Stark went to go
to his sister in the tower?
Yes. Do you guys remember that fight scene? OG, do you remember that fight scene?
Vaguely. It's been a while, but
it's the flashback sequence where he's trying to go to the tower to go try and save his sister from, the Targaryen. I forget the person, her husband. I forget her name.
It starts with a V.
We'll call her V. We'll call him.
People are going to kill me, but yeah, it's the main guy who like kind of passed down the prophecy.
Oh my god! This is gonna piss me off.
Vhagar?
No. Oh my god!
Wow, John's father. We don't know his name.
Yeah, there you go. It's This is gonna piss me off now.
Rhaegar Targaryen.
Rhaegar, Jesus Christ!
I said Vhagar. That was close. Yeah.
Oh, this one right here. I want to show you guys this video. People forget like about like the biggest fighters and best fighters within the realm, but in this scene, it's one of my favorite scenes of Game of Thrones because we actually get to see one of the best like the well-known fighters that
Sir Arthur Dayne. Yeah.
Yep.
Best swordsman he ever saw.
Yeah, because Eddard Stark was good, but he wasn't as good as Arthur Dayne.
Exactly.
Yeah. People have done mashups of this battle with lightsabers. It's very funny.
Oh, no way!
It's really cool.
And I hope we do get a Robert's Rebellion season.
I don't think we ever will.
No,
it's so niche.
King is dead.
Yeah.
Rhaegar lies beneath the ground. Why weren't you there to protect your prince?
Our prince wanted us here.
To protect your sister.
I wish you good fortune in the wars to come.
He's like, yeah, we're not gonna talk. This is like, yeah, Rhaegar gave us orders. We're gonna fight.
And now it begins.
Love a good dual wield.
Oh yeah.
No. Now it ends.
That's a good comment.
Smooth.
That's a good comment.
And by the way, we get to see the sword Eddard Stark's using right now in season 2.
Oh yeah, what's that sword called?
Ice.
Yeah.
Oh, sorry, YouTube.
Yeah, this is a great sequence here. Dual wielding, he's outnumbered, but he's just like way better than all these other swordsmen. Solid choreography too.
Oh yeah.
They're all pushing. I think doesn't like Ned talk about this after the fact as well.
Yeah.
Like he should have died here.
Oh. This is dope.
Yeah, like Ned should have shouldn't have survived this one. Yeah, Arthur Dane's going off. I wish we saw more of his character. This is our only glimpse of Arthur Dane.
Yep.
What's that guy's name, Evan? The old guy?
Mace.
That guy? He was in Star Wars.
Oh, Lor Santeca in Star Wars.
Yes.
I'm
Forgot his
blanking on
name.
his name. Rest
Yeah,
in
me
peace.
too.
I think he died. Rest in peace. Yeah.
Oh.
And that's why Ned is so like ashamed of this fight.
Yep.
He feel like he should have
Stabbed him
lost.
in the back.
Yeah. I'll just take that.
Oh man. But yeah, this video was a kind of a picture of how well people fought like before, Jon Snow and the main people that we got to see, Jaime Lannister, that he was well known as the best fighter in the realm.
And speaking of great fighters, Kristen Cole, as you brought up, he's a weak character. Hey, what's up?
What up, Candid? Candid Camper is me and him to have a podcast together.
Oh, sweet.
Bad Thoughts podcast. So many dudes playing this. What were you saying, Evan?
But Kristen Cole is one of the better sword duelists of this era, of the House of the Dragon era. So I'm very curious to see if he gets in any fights this season.
Oh yeah,
win's a win in this show. This show, they don't care. There's no like fair fights in this show. The stronger person usually ends up losing because of their hubris, like the Pedro Pascal moment, of course, infamous.
Right.
So that was another scene. But also, go ahead.
Yeah, sorry, I was gonna mention like also in the trailer we see Kristen Cole like in these fields like running. We see a dragon amongst the fields. Like we're gonna get some cool dragon fight. I think Lucerys's wife is still alive. Baela, I think Targaryen. Are both of those sisters alive in this?
Yeah, they're both going to be. So what's funny is the character who plays Baela. She said that the difference that's going to be in this show from the books is they're going to be in the war from the get-go, from the start. In the books, they kind of stayed around Dragonstone and let the war kind of brew on before they were able to join. But in the show, they're going to be starting from the very beginning.
And I think that's beneficial. I think a lot of my friends mentioned how in season 1 they were surprised that Baela and the whole all that part of the family got a lot of screen time because they were not in the books that much. But I think that's good. Like flesh out these characters. What does she feel about her husband dying? Like we talked about, of course, Rhaenyra and Daemon and Jacaerys, about how they feel. But like, how does she feel about all this? Like, what does she get to do with her dragon? I think she's just a tame a dragon this season.
Yeah.
So that's gonna be very interesting. And then all these dragon fights as well. Like, let's see, Kristen Cole talking all this smack, like, oh, Alicent, her love, that's her weakness and all this stuff. The minute he gets into battle, she's a dragon. He's like, okay, wait a minute. Maybe I'm on the wrong side here.
and it's funny you say that because we're going to be getting a new writer for Sea Smoke, which was Laenor Velaryon's dragon. In season 1, Laenor Velaryon was they faked his death. Yes. He rode out on the boat, with his lover or whatever. and they went out somewhere. And what's funny is in the books, people say that he died in the books. There was no, him coming back or whatever. But I'm curious to see of why they did that. Are they going to bring Lenore back eventually? Is he eventually going to ride Sea Smoke again? And because in this season, I forget the actor's name, but in this season, Sea Smoke is going to be getting a new writer. And
could it be Bela, right? Could it be one of the sisters?
It's going to be a male, and I believe he's going to be a bastard son of I think some Velaryon. I could be completely wrong, but from what I remember, it is a bastard son from a Velaryon that he ends up connecting with Sea Smoke. That's and cool. Then do you remember that the still with Rhaenyra's dragon Syrax and the other dragon on the very opposite side?
Isn't Daemon's dragon Syrax
or not? No, I believe it's. Let me look that up. It's a good question.
It might start with a V. I'm terrible with dragon names as well.
And Candy Camper in the chat saying Sea Smoke, one of my favorite rappers. I love that. Canda's hilarious. Yeah. That's funny, dude.
Yeah, these dragon names are hilarious. But yeah, I'm curious if they bring Leonard back because I remember that change.
Caraxes is Daemon's.
Sorry.
Daemon's.
Caraxes is Daemon's. Syrax. Okay, thank you. Yeah.
Hit new album about.
That's great.
That goes hard.
Yeah, that does.
So Syrax, which is Rhaenyra's dragon, was on the left side, and on the right side was Sea Smoke and his new rider. And I believe Rhaenyra is on that beach to get that character / the dragon on her side.
Ooh, that's awesome. You need as many people in dragons as you can get.
Yeah, Roman said Adam of Hall. That is his name. He's a bastard of Laenor in the show. Is going to be bastard. Thank you so much.
Bastard of Laenor in the show. It's going to be bastard of Corlys.
Yeah, Corlys Velaryon is the father. He's the
father who was absent most of the season, then comes back. It's like, oh yeah, I support Rhaenyra. Sure, yeah.
Yeah. And by the way, speaking of Corlys Velaryon, he potentially might be getting maybe not him. The actor, but the Sea Smoke or not Sea Smoke, Caloris Velaryon could be potentially getting a spin-off show, which is going to be animated. It's going to be an animated show, and it sucks that the reason of an animated show is because of budgetary reasons. There's so many live action TV shows that are going to be that are in development that the Corlys Velaryon's character is going to be getting an animated, which is not a bad idea. Are you going to say something, OG?
Yeah, no, actually, I mean, that's actually kind of smart. And it's actually kind of interesting how this franchise is diversifying quite a bit. You know what I'm saying? With going into animation now, I think that's good for the franchise. Yeah. Having different medium and, I think that's good.
I think this franchise can go in a lot of different directions. We're seeing finally Lord of the Rings later this year, War for Rohirrim, whatever it's called. They're getting their first anime film in December. I think Game of Thrones can finally dive into animation as well. There's been a lot of successful animation projects on existing franchises on Netflix and theaters and stuff. So I think it's about dang time.
And it's funny because the inspiration George R. R. Martin had was a Blue Eye Samurai. On if you guys haven't seen it, it's on.
Oh Netflix. My God! Fantastic! Yeah. I keep trying to get my brother to watch it.
It's so good, so good. And it's funny because it's like a different kind of animation that I personally haven't watched in a while. And not saying it's like advanced or anything. It's just a different kind of animation that you would see like anime, like Naruto or whatever.
And I'm a huge anime and animation person. And you're right. I didn't watch Blue Eye Samurai initially because I saw the trailers. I'm like, this animation is like Netflix trying to do another animation project and it's not going to be good. But months later, I heard it was great and I saw it in January and I binged it in like 2 days because I was in love with it. Season 2 is coming out later this fall as well, I think.
Yep.
They just did an animation teaser Netflix did today, and there was no word on Blue Eye Samurai, which was disappointing. But Arcane season 2 coming out this fall.
Yeah.
And I tell you guys, Arcane is the best show, not just on Netflix, one of the best shows of all time is Arcane season 1.
Oh, I gotta watch it. I admit I have not watched it yet.
Yeah, it's based off of League of Legends, but I'm not a huge League of Legends person anyways, but I'm a huge fantasy person, and I think Arcane's for everybody. But yeah, going back to this show, I can't wait to see more of Corlys. He is in this season. I haven't seen much of him in the trailers, but there was some friction between him and Rhaenys in season 1. So I wonder how their relationship is going to develop. And Rhaenyra is really going to need the Valyrians in terms of their strength with the sea, the fleet, in terms of going against King's Landing and going against Alicent's the Greens. So I'm very curious to see what his role ends up being and how much screen time he's going to get. But we haven't talked a lot about one of my favorite characters in the show as well. I love Aemond, but the big scene stealer for me, though, every episode, Otto Hightower.
Yeah, let's get into this. I love to talk about it.
Rhys Ifans, one of my favorite actors in Hollywood. He's just a very underrated character actor. He really knows how to play a lot of different, unique characters. Freaking Lizard in The Amazing Spider-Man. But he is so great in this show because he kind of represents this rigid political ideology, but also similar to Alicent, he does have these romantic-esque and these affection towards people on the other side. I think he really did admire the father who died. What's his name? There we go. Otto Hightower, the GOAT. Who's the king? Viserys? Is that the guy who died?
Yeah. Viserys,
They were like brothers, and he really admired him. However, his daughter was his wife, and power corrupts. And I think there was a little bit of that there. One of my all-time favorite scenes from season 1 was when it's in the rain and he's kind of talking to Alicent, to young Alicent. He's kind of telling her the unfortunate circumstances of it. Yeah, I'm going to need you to get with Viserys, spend all your time with them. And this is the same episode where she's like crying because she doesn't want to do that. She doesn't want to have to get close to Viserys, her best friend's father. And he's kind of like yelling at her to do all this kind of stuff and really put her in compromising circumstances. Basically go have sex with this old guy, please.
Yeah, right.
Father of the year? No. But he does these rigid things, but at the same time, it can also be very he's very lenient at times too when he comes over to talk to a young Rhaenyra. That one time when they're on the bridge, a great scene. And he kind of gives her the contract, hey, this is what you should do. And she kind of turns it off, no, I'm not doing this. So he has he's trying to give her some compromise, a good treaty. But then again, towards the end of the season, he's doing a council against his own daughter, Alicent, about succession to the throne, and she had no clue about that they've been plotting for weeks and months ahead of time.
And I kind of want to talk about that as well. Don't you think? I mean, of course, for story reasons, you kind of have to have Alicent love her father and listen to her father. But don't you think that something should have clicked? That your father was planning something prior to your husband dying? Don't you think?
Yes,
this was a conniving action that you think, or you kind of should react a different way than just agreeing with them, at the end.
And I have to rewatch season 1. That's a great question, man. I think she does feel that way, where she feels extremely slighted. But I think there's one scene where she comes back to him. They don't talk for a long time, apparently. She comes back to him, and they have another discussion. And I think she starts, because again, she's put in this compromising position where she has to follow him because he's not wrong, given the circumstances that he created. She's in such a bad spot. She has nowhere else to go except her father. Even if she might not trust him, he's very intelligent. He's very capable. He knows what to do. But I'm with you. I think there's still going to be some friction in this season as the war is escalating. And who is Otto Hightower going to be more responsive to? Aegon, who he knows he can control, or Alicent, who he might not know where her loyalty is.
All right.
So if Aegon's we have to retaliate, we have to go against the Blacks, Otto Hightower might be Yeah, sure, I'll follow. Yeah, sure, let's do this. I'm very curious to see how he plays it off because this is going to be the first time where we're seeing Aegon be king, Otto Hightower handed the king. Who's going to be manipulating who? I mean, of course, Otto Hightower is going to be manipulating Aegon. Aegon's not a smart character, but like I want to see that dynamic play out throughout the course of this season.
What's your opinion on that, OG?
That's interesting. Yeah, I think that I think he's gonna. Oh man, I don't know. I think he's gonna lean. I think he's gonna.
You're muted.
Your mic turned off. Yeah.
No,
not good. I keep on talking, but yeah, it's like I wonder where Otto Hightower is going to go because he's very conniving.
Yeah.
We might not get too much out of the season. Aegon takes his hand of the king title away from him and gives it to Kristen Cole. Or didn't that happen in season? Didn't that happen at the beginning or the end of season 1 as well?
I thought Kristen Cole was the King's Guard, the captain of the King's Guard. I didn't think he was going to be hand of the king.
Kristen Cole, King's Guard. I guess we'll have to wait and see.
Yeah. Well, that's pretty. I didn't know that, Roman.
Yeah, not too many spoilers ahead of time, Roman. By the way, but
yeah.
If that
I don't even think that's in the books, though. To be honest with you,
I don't know. I'm not sure.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, that might go again aligned with what we saw in the trailers in terms of Kristen Cole. You know, Aegon is he's a kid. He's a kid king ruler, and like you said, he had so much fun being like, "Fuck it, yes, I am the king."
Yeah.
I think he wants yes men. He wants yes men.
Yeah.
Who's the yes man? Who's the little bitch? It's Kristen. And Kristen's gonna be like, yeah, sure, F Rhaenyra, F all these people. Let's go against them. Sure, hand of the king, cool. I think Otto Hightower was removed from Hand of the King by Viserys, and then later hired again by Alicent and by Aegon again. So I can see Aegon and Otto riffing with each other and having some kind of conflict. I don't know which direction Otto is going to go with. I think he also is a very pragmatic person. Mm-hmm. If the Blacks, especially Daemon, if they retaliate based on what Aemon did, I think Otto's going to be like, well, we got to do what we got to do. So we'll see what happens. I'm very curious to see how Otto Hightower reacts to all this. I just think he's a great actor, a great performer. Hell, I'm also a huge Emmys follower as well. And I thought Rhys Ifans should have easily got in like a Best Supporting Actor nomination last season for his job there. I think consistently he was doing great works against Olivia Cook and against the Viserys actor.
And oh my God, speaking of Viserys, and he deserved everything. I mean,
oh my gosh, yes. Oh. When not the coronation, but when he's walking down the steps, that one scene that was so sad and beautiful.
Yeah. When Daemon picked up his his crown. Yeah.
Oh, tears, dude.
By the way, you know that was all what's the word?
Not scripted.
Yeah, it was not scripted. Yes, it was all. Oh, fuck, why can't I think of the word?
Well, not ad-libbed. But people
anyway, it wasn't.
Yeah, I know what you mean. People always say that in movies these days. They're all like, Kristen has Hand of the King Knuckles in the trailer. I'll get the title back because the strong guy died in the fire. Oh yeah.
Oh, that's right. Okay. Yeah.
Yeah. Speaking of the strong guy, thank you, Ramon. What's the one motherfucker? The one Littlefinger-esque character? Larys Strong, who killed his brother.
Feet fetish.
Yeah. Feet fetish. Yeah. I forgot all about that. Oh my god. That's why I gotta rewatch season 1. I forgot all about that.
Oh,
but
man.
Larys, he killed his brother, which was Rhaenyra's husband. What was his name? Harold Strong.
Harwin Strong.
Harwin Strong. Thank you. Have I seen him in any of the trailers? Larys Strong?
No, he's there. He's there.
Okay, cool. Okay, I have to rewatch the trailers. What the heck is he going to be doing? He has a lot of connections in like the underbelly of King's Landing. So,
Larry's hand of the feet.
Hand of the feet.
Oh, it's funny. So I kind of have a theory on this. Again, could be totally wrong, but I'm going to run with it. One of my predictions for season 2 was, okay, season 1, what's one thing we saw roaming around the King's Landing that went I mean it went noticed, but it wasn't a huge thing, was the rats. Rats we saw all over King's Landing. Now, we all know what a warg is because of Brandon Stark in Game of Thrones, a three-eyed raven. He was able to control Hodor, the wolf, the fucking ravens. In my opinion, I could be totally wrong on this, and I think I am, but I do think Larry Strong is controlling the rats to be able to get information around the thing in King's Landing because he knows everything. This guy knows every little fucking detail inside King's Landing, and what better to use than the fucking rats that it could be this people, the whole blood and cheese thing, but I'm not going to go into that. But it almost hints to where someone are controlling these rats, and who better than fucking Larry Strong?
That's a good point. I remember that theory going around because the rats were used as symbolism in a lot of occasions, like when when so and so was having sex. I think it was Viserys and Alicent together. It was a very sad time, but a rat was there. Or when Daemon's with Rhaenyra, the rat was there. It's like, why are they like? Why is the camera panning to these rats? Like, it's kind of weird. Granted, it could just be used as like anybody's watching, like Big Brother's always watching.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's a good theory. I wouldn't mind that. I think there is definitely more to Larys and his what's going on there. Well, Harold Strong died in the fire somewhere. Other rats did little birds, like birds versus rats. Yeah.
Yeah.
Who wins? But yeah, he definitely is he's like a Varys Littlefinger-esque character.
Oh yeah.
With more of a fetish. But yeah, so the Greens are definitely effed up, and yeah, I just totally blanked on him in the trailer, so I have to rewatch see what he's kind of been up to.
Yeah, he's definitely going to be playing a big factor. I mean, if Otto Hightower isn't one of the most conniving players inside season one, Larys is right up there with him.
Exactly.
If not even more, because he is as much conniving and manipulative Otto Hightower was. Larys did it in a way where it was just a fucking creepy. It was just creepy. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
He put stuff in Alicent's ear that he wanted her to, or thought that she would react a certain way if he told her that way. And
exactly.
Yeah.
Otto, he's conniving, but he's also very rigid. But Otto's all of these things because his daughter and now his grandson's on the throne.
Yeah.
So he has kind of like a drive to kind of like do what needs to happen to keep his line on the throne and successful. Meanwhile, Larys whispering all these things, like what's his main drive except just being the head honcho in his family? Like, is that it? You just want to be the head honcho in your family? Like, what's really driving you, Larys? So that's going to be an interesting character to track throughout this season.
And I was on TikTok live. By the way, are you good on time?
I'm good. Yeah. Whenever.
Okay.
Yeah.
I was on TikTok live the other day, and one of my viewers asked me a question. It said, do you think Viserys was a king that wasn't a good king because he was so laid back, because he didn't do things in like a Mad King kind of way, or a Cersei kind of way, those kind of ways that we were so used to seeing someone on the Iron Throne be. But Viserys was more of like I just want my family to succeed. I just want my family to be happy. Like, he was that kind of king. But do you think that was bad, and people took advantage of him in that kind of way? What's your opinion on that?
I wouldn't say it was bad, but it's extremely flawed, and people realized that, and they took advantage of that. I think what he wanted to do was good. Have Rhaenyra be on the throne. Unfortunately, he kind of croaked before he could kind of like fully legitimize that, but he kind of did already. He kind of said Rhaenyra is on the throne, but then he had the kid, and then things got difficult with the prophecy. But I think, unfortunately for him, while his vision was solid, he had a solid vision for the future of the kingdom, his execution of his plans were not very good. He left a lot of like crumbling alliances on the table. He kind of left Rhaenyra or whoever was in, I guess in Aegon's case, he left whoever was following him to kind of deal with his mess. Like, I see your vision, but you can't educate your vision because your mess made it so that there's just so much chaos. And I think the first season did a great job of like illustrating bits and pieces of flaws of Viserys' plan, even though he was like a kind-hearted person.
Yeah.
It's very complex and messy.
Roman goes to say, I always compared Otto to Tywin and Larys more Littlefinger. Okay. I can see
fair.
that.
That's fair. And Tywin's one of my all-time favorite characters. You see, I love Cersei. I love Tywin. I mean, he was a huge Lannister guy, I guess. But Tywin was just the GOAT. Like, he knew what he wanted. He did it. He was despicable for what he did with Tyrion, but I loved his character. The way he kind of reminds me of, do you watch Succession?
I didn't get to watch Succession, dude. I'm
one of my all-time favorites. Yeah,
I gotta watch it for sure.
But Otto reminds me, or Tywin reminds me of Brian Cox in Succession, trying to like galvanize this messy and chaotic ass family, trying to do his bidding, and everybody's trying to one up and get up to their father. In this case, Tywin. But yeah, I think Otto to Tywin is a great example where somebody trying to just galvanize, try and let his family be successful, even though Otto and Tywin both acknowledge the Lannisters and the Greens are very messy. They all have their own individual ideas, individual goals that do not align with one another, and that makes it nearly impossible to successfully run a kingdom. Yeah, I think Otto is really going to run into that in this season when Aegon is fully in the kingdom, fully king, and he has his first big challenge. That is Aemond being like, "Hey, bro, I killed Luke. They might be coming after us." How is Aegon going to respond to that? Can he respond in a way that is he going to escalate the war? The war technically already started per Daemon, but like, what's Alicent going to think? What's Otto going to think? There's a great still of Alicent looking at Aemond. I think it might just be the scene where Aemond tells her what happened. Yeah. She looks at him like in surprise and disgust, like, "You what?" Yeah. There's a great SpongeBob meme where he's like, "You what?" And I think Alicent's gonna be like, "Oh crap," and we'll see what happened in episode 1. But yeah, I'm very excited for that.
Another thing I'm extremely excited for is going back to the West.
Let's talk about this. Yes.
Cregan Stark, or North, excuse me, North. Going to the North, and this is Cregan Stark, by the way. He is the descendant of Eddard Stark and all the rest of the Starks. And this is the sword, Ice, which in that one clip we were showing that Eddard Stark was wielding. This is Jacaerys Velaryon, by the way. Or no, he's a Targaryen, but it's weird how they put, because if you remember, what's his name?
Supposed to be He's supposed to be
Targaryen,
Velaryon, but he's actually a strong.
Yeah,
he's Harwin Strong's son.
Yeah. But yeah, so we're back in the North. We're gonna see, which looks like they're at the wall right now. I hope we get to see what am I blanking on?
The Maester?
No, where the Starks are from.
Winterfell.
Winterfell, Jesus. I hope we get to see Winterfell and what it looked like 100 and something years before, Eddard. And I'm excited to see Cregan. I think he's going to be just an amazing character. Character.
A lot of my friends who read the books are like, "My boy, the GOAT, the great." Yeah. I'm like, why do people love him so much? Yeah, I cannot wait to see what his character is up to. I don't know if this is spoilers or not. I don't think it is. But like during the events of season 1, he kind of usurped the throne. He kind of got his legitimacy during season 1. So season 2 starting off with him just recently becoming leader of Winterfell. And you see how young he is. He's around Jacaerys' age here. So what is another young ruler? We have Aegon being a very young ruler in King's Landing here. How is that going to compare to Cregan, who is also a very young ruler in Winterfell. He might be having his shit together though, unlike Aegon. But so
exactly.
I cannot wait to see what happens here. We're going to get probably some Night Walker. That's what they called, right? Night Walkers. Night Walker teases, maybe not. And then did Rhaenyra share with Jacaerys the prince that was promised, or just the vision, the dream,
not yet. Not yet. From as far as the TV show, they didn't show us a scene of her talking to him about the story, the Prince that was promised story.
Okay, yeah, because I think it'll be a funny thing to talk about between Jacaerys and Cregan in terms of like just the cold, the Winterfell, and that theory. But yeah, I cannot wait to see these two interact. So Luke dies. Did Jacaerys come back home and then go to Winterfell, or is he at Winterfell and then he comes back and be like,
yeah, so Jacaerys went to Winterfell. Lucerys went to I forgot the name of it. He went to where he died. He ended up dying, but they went at the same time. They flew at the same time. So I believe in this scene, if this is a scene before or during the time where Jacaerys dies or Lucerys dies.
I think in the trailers we see him hug his mom Rhaenyra. But I wonder, is that all set after?
After Winterfell, yeah, I believe so. Because in the last episode, they fly off at the same time.
Yeah,
they just don't show Jacaerys fly. They just show Luke.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah,
and that's very exciting. I can't wait to see Jacaerys on his own. I think another one of the small criticisms, but I don't even know if it's a criticism because it was season 1. They were kids. I didn't get much that differentiated Jacaerys from Lucerys.
Mm-hmm.
So I didn't get much of an identity compared to like Aegon and Aemond, where I can clearly tell their different goals and stuff. But now Lucerys is dead, so now the show can definitely dive into Jacaerys and his role. His brother just died. What's next now?
Yeah, exactly.
The rumor is Jace goes to the Vale, comes back, and then goes out again to Winterfell.
Oh, okay. Actually, yeah, I actually remember Rhaenyra telling Jacaerys to go to the Vale.
Go to the Vale, then go to Winterfell. But he goes to the Vale, probably gets a raven. He's like, oh, shit.
Yeah, flies back home.
And then he goes to Winterfell. That makes more sense. So that way the season can spend even more time with Cregan.
Yeah.
But yeah, like I hear so much hype about Cregan. Again, I know jack shit about Cregan.
Yeah.
No spoilers, but like, what's Cregan's influence on the conflict going to be? They need allies. I assume it goes well. He seems like a cool dude. But he also, again, like I said, he just kind of recently usurped the throne. Maybe he's like, I need my guys to stay here. Like it's very hard to be a legitimate ruler if I send all my men to go fight some random war between the blacks and the greens. Like, why would I do that? It's not the most strategic option for him. So I think he might have to grapple with that as well.
And that's a good point. And from what these pictures they've put out, these stills they've put out, it does look like they become good friends within season 2. So yeah, so I am excited to see what their relationship, because essentially they're like the same age, and I'm excited to see what kind of relationship they had, or they have, because I mean, obviously, I mean, from the hat you could tell I'm a big Stark guy. The Stark family was a very a very moral kind of family, which I can relate to, and they had their morals that they didn't turn their back on family, stuff. Just they had their morals, and people loved it. That's why people fell in love with Starks.
Even though they're not the smartest. like I love Ned, but Ned is the smartest guy in the room. Orange's back.
I'm back. Sorry about that. My Rodecaster, and it's done this on my show too sometimes, it just like shorts out, and I got to reboot my whole system. I was hoping I could prevent that, but I do apologize, gentlemen.
No,
you're all good. We're talking about the Starks. Like, you just showed an image of Cregan Stark, who's going to be one of the main new characters in season 2. And yeah, like the Starks are very by the rules. They're very honor. Like honor is their motto. Mm-hmm. And I wonder if it's going to be any different in this House of the Dragon era compared to the Game of Thrones era. Is there ideologies, their rules? Is it going to be any different, or is it exactly the same? And it's like,
I hope it's different. I hope it's different. I hope we see a little difference, and we can see kind of like almost like a evolution of the Starks. From this era to that era. I hope it changes. I think it'd be kind of dope, actually.
That's what I want too. I want some evolution. I want some progress. But if it's the same, it'll make sense as well. I can't wait to see what Cregan and Jacaerys, right? Yeah, and Jacaerys get up to in Winterfell. That's so exciting. Winterfell is just an iconic location now. Again, I'm with you. I want to see how much stylistically, how much it looks different, and see what's going on here.
And what's funny is, we all know that like honor was like their and that was like their shtick as a Stark, like you know what I'm saying. But someone actually brought to my attention that they're not really there. There's a couple instances where they weren't, all loyal to each other. Was when Rhaegar and his what's her name? Eddard Stark's sister. The one who was supposed to be married to Robert Baratheon, and then she ended up being Jon Snow's mom. But she was with
Lyanna.
There you go. Lyanna Stark. She was supposed to be with Robert Baratheon, and that was his love of his life. And we come to find out she cheated on him with Rhaegar because she loved Rhaegar. And Eddard Stark was supposed to be not loyal as well, because he essentially we find out that he's not the true father of Jon Snow, but you've seen that dishonor that he had to endure from being a Stark because he had to take that responsibility of being his father.
Yeah, there's some friction that you can glean between him and Kat in the early seasons of the show, his wife. It's like there were secrets that he was hiding even from her. So he's not the most honorable. He wasn't the most honorable father. Yeah. I'm very curious to see what his whole shtick is. See how gruff he is, like what he can do, and does he get super involved in the conflict? Does he travel down to King's Landing, or is his character just going to stay in Winterfell? I don't know. Yeah,
it's a huge question because the North is known for having the best fighters and just having a good group that is loyal to the northern people. And if Cregan Stark gets behind that and gets behind Jace, I think it's something that we could look forward to as far as joining the fight.
And I think he already should. Am I incorrect where when Viserys named Rhaenyra to be the next successor, the Starks already pledged their loyalty then?
Correct.
And then that's why Rhaenyra is sending Jacaerys to go to him and be like, hey, confirm his allegiance, because he did give us loyalty, but now we have a new king, and let's see where he stands.
Exactly.
So I think that's going to be very interesting, where he's like, oh, yeah, of course I support you, but it's not going to be that easy. I think I think there's going to be some difficulties here with Jason and Cregan.
I am super excited. Super excited. Before we get out of here, I want to go over one last kind of thing, and I'll start with you, OG.
Sure.
We had a kind of a discussion about this, but I love how he puts this. 999 times out of 1,000, they make it adaptations of books/shows worse. Now he goes on. I don't have the exact thing that he said, but he pretty much calls out screenwriters and producers for altering book stories and enjoying Shogun. There's a lot of adaptations that come from books to TV shows /movies, and they kind of want to make it their own story, even though they're not the actual creator of the story. But what's your opinion on changes and the notion of they want to make it their own story?
Yeah, I'm fine. I mean, I'm fine with it. I think it's look, when you have a book, the sky's the limit with book. It's printing on paper, right? You can do anything. But when you make a show or a movie, there's limitations there with what you can do. You know what I'm saying? You're going to have to change stuff, and it's going to have to be a different kind of like a different product when you transform that story from the book to the screen. So I think it's completely natural. I think it's expected. It's not always, I would disagree respectfully. I don't think it's always worse. You know, so I'm okay with it. I mean, obviously it all comes down to execution, but I don't know. I think you have to, because you look when you write a story and it's in book form, the sky's the limit. Also the other thing too, the reader's imagination steps in for a lot of this stuff. Mm-hmm. You know what I'm saying? And so when you read, that's why I think a lot of book readers kind of get into this thing where it's like they kind of always think like the books are always better, because when you have your own imagination kind of filling in that stuff, and then you go and watch the movie, and it's not exactly how you imagined it, it kind of messes with your expectations and what the final product was in the film. So I don't know. In my opinion, I think you have to change it. I think that the books are always going to have this element of like the sky's the limit. It's easier to print words on a page. And when you have physical sets and things like that and CGI and all this other stuff you got to deal with, it's going to be a different equation. So I don't know. That's kind of where I stand with it. I'm pretty forgiving about it. But again, look, each product is different, you know, and it's a case by case basis. But overall, I'm okay with it, and I totally expect them. It's kind of like out of necessity almost.
Yeah, and I could see the other side of the coin where it's like, okay, you're a book reader, you loved this part in the book, and
Right.
it comes to the show, and you're waiting for it, and you're like, where the fuck is this part at? Like,
Right.
you know what I'm saying? Like, there's a huge part in the book that happens, but you don't see it in the movie or TV show. I get that. I really do. But at the same time, if you get the big parts that are being told in the story in the books, and you get it in the show, but they change up little details, to me that would be a good thing. You're not getting a copy and paste version of the book,
And it doesn't take away from the book.
Exactly.
So you can enjoy that version, and then you can watch the show and have a different version and enjoy that for what that is.
Exactly. And I think that's where book readers kind of get that notion of like, you don't change anything up. It has to be a copy and paste version. But it's like, yeah, but don't you want to kind of be surprised as well for certain little things, you know? But like I said, if there's a huge part that's missing, totally valid if you dislike that part, because it's an essential part of the story. But what's your opinion on this, Evan?
I've been through this a lot. I'm a huge anime fan, and I read a lot of manga. And there's a lot of discrepancy between manga and anime. Which one's better? Which one's worse? And then same thing. So recently with Shogun, where I never read the book Shogun, but it was a very apparently accurate adaptation. As George R.R. Martin says, he was very happy with it as well. But I'm with you guys. I think it depends. It's very case by case. Going back to Game of Thrones, season 6 is one of my favorite seasons. Not in the books, but it carried through post the adaptation aspects of it all and created a very, I think for me, a well done season. Season 6 with the whole Battle of Winterfell. So I think that was a very fine adaptation. But yeah, I'm the same way. You're always gonna have the books. You're in anime case. You're always gonna have the manga. It's a different story, and sometimes it's not great, but sometimes it is. It's a different product. You're always going to have the manga. You're always going to have the book. You're always going to have the first initial piece of storytelling. That's never going to go away. And same thing for this show, House of the Dragon. Like, you're always going to have the book Fire and Blood. If you feel like there's things you don't like, then go read that. Continue reading that. Read it again if you really want to. But I've always been very lenient towards adaptations of any kind. One of my favorite shows is Avatar: The Last Airbender. I didn't mind the Netflix adaptation. I think it's very messy, but there's things I appreciated, things I didn't like. I'll always still have the anime or the cartoon. I'll always still have that. I can go rewatch that as many times as I want. So I'm always very lenient towards adaptations of any kind, and I don't think they're always very bad. If they're able to honor the author's wishes, especially if the author's involved, even better, great. But that's not always going to be the case. I think we mentioned the MCU earlier. The MCU is known for this. They've never, ever adapted comic storyline 1-to-1. Age of Ultron is not Age of Ultron.
Yeah.
Like Civil War is not Civil War in the comics, but they're good movies. I mean, Age of Ultron's fine. Civil War is great. So it's like they're different, and it doesn't really matter. You're always going to have one, and you always have the other.
Exactly. Well said, Evan. And here's the other thing too. I'm very curious. I know it's kind of off topic a little bit, but like with the Harry Potter thing, because this is also like, you know, we have the books, right? And then we have the movies that everyone has seen. But now they're rebooting this thing into a show, right? So how's that going to work? Because now you're going to have with a show, I'm assuming, like, let's just say they do hour-long episodes. That's a lot more meat on them bones than you know. You could potentially have 10 hours or whatever. I mean, you know, that's a lot more than the films could provide. You know, so that'll be kind of interesting to see how that kind of pans out and what they add or take away from that whole situation. I'm very curious.
Oh man, yeah, I'm a huge Harry Potter fan. Like, there was a time when I liked Harry Potter more than Star Wars. I'm a huge Harry Potter fan. Like the Half-Blood Prince and Prisoner of Azkaban is one of my all-time favorite movies. So I'm very nervous about that adaptation, the TV show aspect of it all. But yeah, even Harry Potter is a great example. I love the books, read them way more than once. But then I also appreciate the movies. And then there's things I like about the movies that I feel like did better than the show or than the book. Like the movies gave us like Snape. I'm blanking on his name, the actor who played Snape. And he really elevated the character of Snape in ways I couldn't even imagine.
Right.
And yeah, then the books, there's like, for example, Ron is way better in the books than in the movies, but I still like Ron in the movies. So it just all depends. And yeah, we're always going to have the books. We're always going to have the movies. But Harry Potter is a great example. Oh, and speaking of adaptations, just today, they announced Suzanne Collins is writing another Hunger Games book, which is already going to be adapted into a movie. Like having a book and movie deal in the same day. That's some baller. That's some baller talent right there.
She's getting paid.
Yeah.
And I believe it's only going to be a year apart as well. The book's going to come out first, and then the show or the movie's going to come out.
That's insane. That's kind of unprecedented almost, right? I don't feel like that's happened before. I don't know.
I can't remember. Yeah, she must be getting paid, and she deserves it because I really liked the Ballad of Songbirds and Snakes. And I can't wait to see what this next one is. But
very dope franchise for sure. One more thing on this subject is a lot of book readers don't understand the difference between writing a book and writing a script because it's totally different. You got to get your point across way different from how you would in a book rather than a script or a TV show or on a script paper. Like you have to change things up because it's not going to sound or make any sense on a script rather than a TV or than in a book, because you have to kind of play with the story. That's why you can't just whatever is written in the book, you can't just put it on a fucking script paper and expect it to be a good show. That's not how it works.
And that's what I was saying earlier too. You're right on the money with that, Tones. It's like when you change mediums, when you change from book to movie, you have to change something. Like you were saying, between writing a book and the script, it's going to have to change to some degree. You can't have a one for one, so.
Yeah, you're going to have lots of limitations when you get to movies and TV compared to books. It's funny because J.K. Rowling, but she started writing. She wrote parts of Fantastic Beasts 2, The Crimes of Grindelwald. And you can tell, hey, sticking to your book lane, you're not a good script writer because the script for that second movie is awful. It's trash. And it feels very exposition heavy because, again, if you're in a book, books are easier to divulge exposition to rather than a screenplay where you're just watching characters just talk and talk and talk monotonously for minutes on end. So I think, there's a big difference. That's a great point. Big difference between a book and a script. And I think the audience needs to understand that, and people in Hollywood need to understand that as well.
Yeah. Man, as much as we can go on, guys, I will get you guys out of here. Thank you guys so much for joining me. I appreciate it. We can talk for hours about House of the Dragon and books and stuff, but we'll do that another episode for sure. Evan, thank you so much for joining us for the first time. Great to meet you, bro.
Thank you.
If you could remind the people where they could find you on social media and what you do on those platforms.
Yeah, again, you can find me on Twitter, Harris EV9, talking all things anime, Star Wars. I'm like tweeting about the Acolyte all the time recently because the Acolyte just came out. So I'm always talking about the Acolyte, always talking about anime, stuff like that, movies and TV as well. And then again, my podcast with Nathan Rojas on My Cup of Tea and Hyperspace Hype, where we talk Star Wars. And then Where Heartbreak Feels Good for the other podcast, where we talk about movies, TV, and everything.
Is that a take on the Nicole Kidman thing?
Which one? Where Heartbreak Feels Good? Yeah, 100%.
I like that. I like that. That's dope. I like that.
Where Heartbreak Feels Good is a play on the Nicole Kidman thing. And then My Cup of Tea was a response to when Spike Lee was asked about Green Book in 2018. Somebody asked him, hey, what's your opinion on the book or on the movie Green Book? It just won Best Picture. He's like, you guys are British, right? They're like, yes. He's like, well, it's not my cup of tea. And then he runs off, and it's very funny because he notoriously hated Green Book. He walked out of the Academy when they awarded it.
Wow.
So he was not a fan.
That's funny.
But yeah, he's a goat.
That's
you know, Tones and I were talking like last weekend. I think we were texting back and forth. You approached me on doing like a Acolyte thing, maybe, right?
Yes.
If we do that, we got to get Evan on that.
Oh, please. I was just about to say, anytime you want to hop on and talk Acolyte, because OG and I and a couple other friends, we're going to be doing weekly breakdowns as well on my show. So we would love to have you on episodes for sure. Please.
I would love that. I would love that because I was like tweeting it out. I'm like, I can keep on tweeting forever, but I'm just going to save it for podcasts or wherever I'm on.
Yeah.
Because it's so much to think about already, and I haven't felt this way about a Star Wars show. Because I watched Mando recently, and I'm like, last year, and I'm like, I watched an episode, then I'm done. Move on to watching the. It's like there's not much to talk about there. But yeah, I can talk about Acolyte. These first 2 episodes, I'm like really invested already.
I'm gonna check it out this weekend. I'm gonna check it out this weekend for sure. So
yeah,
they dropped the 2 episodes. That's all we got right now, right? Is it 2?
Yeah.
Yep.
Okay.
Yeah. 35 to 40 minutes. Yeah.
And we could possibly, if you want, OG, we could talk about it off air, but we can do a episode 1, 2, and 3 kind of breakdown just so you can have time to catch up.
Yeah, I'm down, dude. Yeah, I'll watch it this weekend, and we can talk about when you guys wanna do the show. I'm down. Be fun.
Oh yeah, love it. But yeah, thanks again, Evan. Like I said, always welcome back to the channel, bro. Appreciate you, bro.
No problem.
OG. I love you, brother. Thank you so much for coming on again.
Absolutely.
Always love you. Always love when you join my lives too. You got so fun, bro. You and George, man. Shout out to George.
Oh hell yeah, we love the Italiano. He's actually flying down here to California right now. He's up in the air right now.
Oh, nice.
Wow.
Yeah. He's flying to Cali. So yeah, shout out to George. But yeah, Tones and Evan. I love hanging out with you guys. Nerding out. Game of Thrones or like Pixar, Disney, whatever we're talking about. It's always a good time. Yeah. But yeah, you can find me on Orange Grove 55 on YouTube. We talk a lot about theme parks, movies, studio stuff, even the corporate side of things. Even dip into some music stuff. Tones and I did a K-pop reaction not too long ago. That was pretty fun. Yeah, that was a cool show.
Oh yeah.
Shout out to Made in '93.
Yeah,
that guy was
exactly.
great. That guy was great. But yeah, so you can find me over there. You can also find me on Instagram, Orange Grove 55, and on Twitter at Orange Grove 55. In honor of the Acolyte and just Star Wars in general. Little Wookiee action. There we go.
By the way, never mind. I can't say it. OG's in here. He hasn't seen it yet.
Okay.
Oh my God, the Wookiee part, Evan.
Yeah.
Oh my God,
it's in the trailers. Yeah, we have a Wookiee in the show.
Yeah, what he did at the end, I was not expecting, but I'll let you see that, OG.
Okay, all right.
Man. But guys, yeah, make sure you guys comment and let us know what you guys thought about the episode. Let us know what you think about season 2 and what you think is going to be coming in season 2. Also, let us know what you guys thought about our opinions about the overall episode. I had a lot of fun, a lot of different perspectives on this panel for sure, and I really enjoyed it. So make sure you guys like, subscribe with notifications on so you guys are notified notified once a video is uploaded. If you guys want to follow me on social media, Tones_TV on all platforms. And go follow the podcast with Candy Camper and I, Bad Thoughts Podcast on YouTube and Spotify. But thanks again, fellas. Appreciate it. Hope you guys have a great night. Love y'all.